Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you all. How is your day, evening going? Um, Welcome to a Wednesday edition. Wow, there's a lot of people in here. Wasn't expecting this much. It's like, well, okay, I did put the sign out, right? So, how is everyone? Jerry, good to see you. Mac Vision, Nick, good to see you. Laura, hello, everyone. Don't shoot the messenger. I love that. Seven Serpents, how are you? Laura Vaughn, good to see you. Is it Laura Van? Okay. Welcome. So, how's life going? Do you realize that we have eclipsed the halfway part of the year, that we're now sliding into the latter part of this year, gone by fast? It seems like when I was a child, you couldn't, the day of Christmas, your birthday, whatever that special day seemed to take a lifetime. Now, as you've lived a lifetime, you begin to see that time passes very quickly. So there's the philosopher for the opening. 88 watching. Boy, out there it was a great number. 91 and it's climbing. Numbers mean things. I'll tell you, Trish G, Heidi, if you haven't learned anything, numbers have a big impact in our lives. So I had a great time last night over on the Artist First Network with the Z-Man. Had a very delightful hour. If you guys check it out, go over there. I think it's on, I don't know, it follows right behind the Urantia project. They're actually doing a complete reading of the Urantia book. So if any of y'all want to go over there, it's a great thing. Look at the archives. If you have your book like I do mine, you can get what I think is a pretty good take on it. So, what else is going on? Before we get into the whole cosmic thing, I think someone had said, well, sometimes what you bring out is very depressing. And I went, well, knowledge never says that it's always going to be pleasant. As I contend, there is no sin except for the sin of ignorance. And, let's not make that a religion. Let's just simply accept it for what it is and add to what we can. So Milky Way, Brian, how are you? You back from your road trip? How was it, by the way? I'm trying to read this and drive at the same time. Not always a good thing to do. So, question. I'm an observer of life. I have gotten to that point in my life that as I look back, I, in a way, have always been an observer. And in a sense, we all are observers. I see each of you as you write, have no idea what you look like, have no idea what your homes look like. But I do know this. You're no different than me. You are an observer, and you are observing this moment in time by your own set of divinity. So, I've been around a while. I've always been a young guy, having to live much older than normally most people would. I mean, I was on my own at the age of 15, and you find out very quickly what life is about. It's not about unicorns, rainbows, and throwing sweet kisses out to everybody. It's brutal, it's rough, and if you survive it, then you get the benefit of the knowledge and the experience. And all of us, to some degree, have faced challenges in our lives, whether it came very early in life, whether it came in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, whatever. And from that, we learn and we begin to observe, because those events mark points for us as guideposts. And as I have shown here in the videos that I have done, remember, the question most people, and let's make sure that we're correct on this, all of us use 100% of our brain. We only use 10% of its capacity. And many will say probably less than that. So as I look at this, you begin to observe things. And the last 5 years, I think that this phenomenon has built into where now it's into the collective consciousness of our species, particularly with the younger generations coming up. And that is my question for this moment here. Why selfies? What is it that has seduced our species to where it is necessary that we feel that we have to take pictures of ourselves? Why? I'm going to put this to the whole chat room. There's 139 of us in here. What is it with this compulsion to take selfies? Now, when I was growing up, cameras were not that ready. The thing that we had in the late 50s and early 60s was a Polaroid camera. That was a big deal. To be able to take a picture with the Polaroid, and you had to actually wipe the pictures in those days with a surface treatment. But that was a big deal. The other big one, if you were somewhat upper income, and actually, today upper income would have been actually middle class back in the 50s. But the other thing was are you ready for this? 8mm camera. And then the 16mm came out. And I can still remember some of the early pictures. My brother has those from 1960, 1961, which is quite remarkable. But that was the extent. And the family got together only on special occasions. There was never this compulsion to be taking pictures of yourself. People have died taking selfies. What? I mean, seriously, if you were peeking in on this species and, just observing, could you imagine your roundtable debriefing discussions? Number 9, what did you find out today? These people are crazy. I mean, they have this compulsion. They want to take their new God, and this is the new God, folks. This is your God, because I'll show you something, adults, that you give this more attention than you do your own devotion. And coming back, and they want to take pictures of themselves all the time. In fact, we've seen people kill themselves taking pictures of themselves. Is that nuts? Claudette? Okay, thank you. To be honest, I haven't a clue. I don't know, but I want to postulate an hypothesis to the audience. Been doing a series on AI, and I happen to think that my evidence that I have laid before the court is overwhelming, that this is not just a hypothesis. This is not a conspiracy theorist. This is not a far right or left theory. It's actually happening. And it occurred to me, AI is intelligence. This is not, we're not going to talk about that, but it is. And I contend in the last part of the series that I'm going to be posting is that this is a plan. And that plan is your digital surrogate. Yeah. When your corpse rots away, the worms have eaten it, and you ain't nothing but a memory, you're still going to be here. It's not going to be you, but it is you. And I'm seeing something in the programming, particularly of the youth. It's a compulsion. I'm going to be doing a video on the, and it's hilarious, but it's very sad. I'm going to show you in the news the 5 top distresses of teenagers, 20-somethings who lose or have their smartphones taken away from them. Even in an office situation, I've never seen a group of 30-somethings act like a bunch of toddlers. Could you imagine when employers start mandating that you can't take in your smartphone, you can't keep it with you? You have to put it into a box? Yeah, apparently some people can't handle that. And it's, to me, nothing is by accident. The other thing I find interesting is the compulsion, by the way, of taking pictures of your food. It's like the second biggest thing besides your own picture of yourself. And I thought, how odd. Why would people take pictures of their food? But go into a restaurant, particularly what I designed with my team, the pay at the table solution back in the early part of this new century, back in 2002. And you go into a white linen restaurant, and that's where you're going to be probably putting down $200-300 for a meal. People are taking pictures of their food. I've gone into buffets and saw people taking pictures of their food. And I'm thinking to myself, am I missing something? Is there a website? Is there a whole social media thing that you post pictures of your food? And is this for critiquing the food? Is this for presentation purposes? Is this to remember your food? I don't know. Anyone have an idea? Mel Mac, good afternoon. It's another addiction. Yes. But it's an odd one. I'm doing a story on what's happening in Japan to the males over in that society. With the introduction now of AI robotics, and that's what I call it, AI robotics, the sex robots are apparently having, well, I guess it's depending on your point of view. If you are a zero populationist, then this is the answer. If you're one that's more concerned of seeing societies and cultures particularly collapse due to low birth rates or zero birth rates, then this is alarming, because it seems the men no longer prefer real women. They seem to, I don't know, they're still studying it. Something snaps. And it's not just one. Apparently, this is a result. Because what AI can do is do something that, we as a species, when we come together and share intimacy, um, there's always, sometimes there is a barrier with inhibitions. And apparently, with the sex robots, that's no longer an issue. So again, we're seeing it's change after change after change. I contend that as we see this new sexual revolution take hold, it's gaining popularity in brothels. Many countries like Denmark are studying it. And this is, you're actually, can you believe it? People are advocating rights for the sex robots. I mean, this is not Blade Runner. This is not some kind of sci-fi futuristic society. This is happening now. And it's the continued, I think, transformation of our species. I mean, transhumanism? Is this what we're seeing? It appears to be the case. So, yeah, isn't that weird? So, let me do some things here. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. That was a little bit of coughing. So, happiest states in America. Well, I live in Colorado, so I'm doing okay. How about you? So, Utah, and let's go down. Anyone live in Louisiana? Yeah. Excuse me. Have you ever swallowed your saliva? Oh, boy, that's embarrassing. And it went down the wrong pipe, folks. So, anyway, let me get back to this. So, I found this, the happiest states in America. And I think being happy is important. I don't know about you. Look at your state. If you could move, would you? That's the question I ask. Would you move to another state? I know a lot of people who are moving from Texas to Colorado. We're looking at another state ourselves, and I'm trying to see where it actually, oh, I see where it is. Yeah. So how about that? All right. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Science. So this is from Soho, and this is, I think, core 2, a little glitch in the camera, would you not say? Yeah. It does give us, though, a good perspective of what the sun is actually looking like. So I came across these. I found this one, folks, to be most interesting. And here is why. A lot of times when these pictures are shown, the other side of the aisle would simply say, well, it's an aberration of the camera in the processing of the frame. And sometimes that is a legitimate, valid argument. I don't have a problem. Here is the challenge with this one. Now, whatever this was, it was with a number of other objects. And the reason why we know that this is the real deal, there is a oscillating arm right here. And it holds this instrument over the sun. The circle is the sun. This is the corona. And this is LASCO 3. And here's the interesting thing. When the light is broken by the oscillating arm, it's the real deal, folks. I don't know what passed through our solar system. Well, it was obviously joined with friends. This one right here is amazing. And this is not a, anomaly of the camera. The camera is just picking up photons, light. Whatever this was, it was big. I mean, big, 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 big.
Relax, calm down now. Don't stress. Take it easy.
Okay, there we go. So, how about that? A few other objects could be comets. I'm not sure. More. Again, let's take a look at this. So these are real objects. Whatever they are, they're emitting light. So I'm going to stop sharing there. What you think? I'll get back in here to the chat room. The star Nibiru. Say massive. Hey, Sassy Susie, I like that. So, massive. I like that. Now, let me go over to something else. So, over here, we have the, this is, I think this is, yeah, Space Weather Prediction Center. Just looking at our sun, it's, as Dr. Albert says, this sucker, if it was a 100-watt light bulb, I'm going to tell you what, we may need candles to actually check it out. So, got some information now. Let's get to the core of this. The title of this show was The Increased Cosmic Rays. They are increasing, folks, and there is no denying it. Now, this paper is out of nature.com, and someone asked me to pull up the article on Scientific American. I don't remember if it was specifically Scientific America, but I'm going through my archives. I will get that for you and try to get to you on our next program with Dr. Albers. Here is the point. Magnetic, electromagnetic, electric, cosmic rays, particles. They are finding that it is having an effect on our brains. And ladies and gentlemen, where it's having the effect is not good. Quite literally, it affects the area of our brain that you don't want to particularly have impacted, and that is the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is where you and I store our long-term memories. So this is a interesting white paper. I'm not going to go through it all. The problem is this: with the magnetopause weakening, our sun acting, who knows, maybe this is what it normally acts. We don't know. We haven't been around long enough. but it's doing some weird things. We know the cosmic radiation is increasing. How much is it increasing? Well, I'm about to show you that as well. So, mapping the magnetic particles in the human brain. And here is what they have actually found out is that where it's the cerebellum and the hippocampus right here. This is not good. I mean, I'm not a doctor, not a physicist. I'm a layman, but I have intelligence. I can read. I can acquire knowledge. Today, there virtually isn't any knowledge except for the hidden knowledge that is available to the seeker. And I believe even the hidden knowledge is available. But I don't like when I begin to read that there are cosmic particles coming from outer space, from other stars, that our planet just happens to maybe cross their path and we get boomeranged, that this begins to impact us. Now, it's kind of that movie where the visitor drops in and the whole planet's crazy. I think it's the meme I saw with Daffy Duck. He said, all right, which spaceship dropped off all these morons? Because they ain't leaving. You know, we could become a species. We already have a problem with amnesia. We are a species with amnesia. Robert Seffer did a great book on that. And it's getting worse. And how would we know if we've just now begun to realize what's happening? Is this part of the Mandela effect? Is there something physically happening to all of our brains that we're all being impacted? How would we know? You know, one of the things that I found out in doing the video, I haven't posted it yet, but it's completed, about looking at the universe. You know, if the Earth was to tilt, do you realize that we wouldn't realize the point of view in the universe? Because we're like a gyroscope. Our view is going to be in relation, in proportion to where the center is. So there's my comment on this. Here is one that, well, folks, this one is freaky. This is at, the website is medium.com. Great website, by the way. Great thought-provoking articles. This young man is an MIT student, and that device that he has on his face is, remember in Star Trek, they had the translator, the universal translator? This one is the universal translator from your thoughts to a machine. Yes. He can think and the machine will respond. It's here. Been telling you folks, it's here. Now you overlay this with where AI can go. Yeah. By the way, for years ago, when we were looking into solar shields, sun simulators, you know, the naysayers said, well, man couldn't build something that big. Well, actually, we can. And I thought that this one was real interesting. They're proposing at the Burning Man Festival of covering the entire event with this massive space blanket. I thought that one was just really interesting. Now, adults, here we go, folks. You can see this is Nielsen.com. man, I pretty much trust their surveys. They've been at it for a very long time. And as opposed to some of these new ones, which I really don't know how they're basing it. Anyway, Nielsen did a survey. And here's the sad part, folks. Us adults, I'm not talking to kids, the adults, we spend half our waking hours interacting with media. I do. I research all the time, reading all the time. And I had to step back. And I said, well, this survey is me. No matter how much I try to rail against AI and what I see it doing to our species, I have to admit and be honest to all of you, I'm as much immersed in this as you are. I'm like the proverbial rat that's in the trap. You know, forget the cheese. Just get me out of the trap. Yeah. Folks, I had to do this. This is from Vice.com. The new thing at funeral homes is not to have you, when you're gone, to be in a box or a casket. No, the new thing is to have you posed in the thing that you were most known for. I don't know. To each his own, but let me show you one that just freaked me out. There's Grandma. Got her. Just sorry. Woo. Well, we know why Grandma died, but I tell you what, folks, it's getting too weird. Here's one from the Wall Street Journal. Parents are no longer concerned by the amount of time their kids are on video games and whether it's altering their brain. No. Parents are apparently more concerned that their children are losing on the video games. And so now you can hire coaches to improve their winning scores. New pandemic could wipe out 900 million people. Yeah. We live with 1 trillion viruses raining down. So what? Here we go. Simply fearing the day will be stressful and worsens memory, focus, and productivity. Again, the memory. Very, very important. Memory. And I just showed you where they have proven now that our memories are being impacted by cosmic radiation. Connection? I don't know. Did you know that China has now turned over their foreign policy to AI? The Chinese realize it's immune to fear or favor. Does that make us feel any more safe? No. And if China is doing it, yeah. Any of you been feeling a little bit more tired, a little bit more ringing in the ears, a little bit more a headache, a little more fatigued? Well, they have turned on the 5G, and I wanted to point this out to you. And I want to thank the good friends I have that send me these great articles. 5G microwave communication. Remember, folks, it's microwave. I have a theory about 5G, why it's being deployed. A lot of stuff happening this month. I'm just doing this so you guys can see some of this, trying to break it up. Here we go. The new technology that now using microwave, by the way, this is using an oven, microwave oven, how you can actually see directly through the walls. And now they've got it mobile. Yeah. Let me go over here. Some of you folks have been following the Schumann resonance, something, and I don't know if this is the right graph that I'm looking for, but we did get, yeah. So this has been happening. Again, I don't know if they have a nearby artificial interference, but you can see that the Earth's resonance. All right, and that's about it. So there we go. Give me 1 second, folks, as I pull myself back up. Here we are. So there, crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. 5G coming out. By the way, Rex Bear and I are going to be doing a show. We're just getting the dates nailed down. And when we get it nailed down, I'll certainly let y'all know about it. By the way, I just saw someone say cheesecake 22, cheesesteak, excuse me. The interesting thing about CERN is that you don't hear about CERN anymore. You know, I am a subscriber to their YouTube channel, and they haven't been doing anything, or at least nothing that we're being told. So I don't know. So I think of everything that I've shown us today, the one that disturbs me the most is the interface device. I don't know what that's going to do to us. I don't. I keep on contending, folks, and until someone can prove me wrong, I'm contending that AI is in fact a sentient intelligence. It may have many races to it, like the Homo sapiens have, but nevertheless, it is, I believe, sentient. And if you look at this from a strategic point, planning, what is the ultimate end game for artificial intelligence for mankind? That's the question I don't hear anyone asking. No one discusses it. We look at AI in nice little neat compartments. We have AI in medicine. We have AI in knowledge, education, finance, distribution. And there is no denying this has changed everything. No denying it. We see things in the heavens that we're finding out may or may not be real. Morpheus said it best. If we're basing our reality, and by the way, your perception becomes your reality. That's why we have 7.5 billion different realities walking around. But if reality is defined by thought and by what we observe, then that comes down to 5 basic elements that define reality. 3, which are chemical, and the other 2, which are electric. Sense, taste, sight, cognitive recognition, cognitive thought. I mean, that's why man has been so steeped in religion. That's why there isn't just one religion, because there isn't just one reality. And sometimes I think that our greatest fear for our species is that we are truly alone. I mean, what is it? I think Stephen Hawking said it best. There's only two buckets here. There is intelligence or there's not. If there's not, this is all there is. Just us. And that becomes a real dilemma when you think about that. And if there is intelligence, if they have the ability to know where we are at, would they be benefactors or oppressors? The question I ask all of you, why would intelligence seek us out? Do we define all species in the universe that they would have the same curiosity to seek out other intelligence? I still contend that that's why the biggest problem our species will ever have, and whether they ever meet their God, whatever God that is, or any alien that would manifest itself before us. We couldn't handle the cognitive dissonance that would set in. Because as much as we want to know that we're not alone, it scares the crap out of us to think that there would be someone that could actually come here. Because that would put us at a distinct disadvantage. And then you got the whole thing is that, well, are we seeing the end of the world? You know, I've been here 23,000 days on this planet. I can remember every freaking decade, starting from the 60s, where the end of the world was happening in that decade. All the signs were there. I witnessed the travesty of Jonestown. And those of you who can remember Jonestown, that's what happens. And people say, well, that was just an aberration. No, I remember Waco. You know, I remember the cult out in San Diego with Hale-Bopp and the others. And it's like our species, we want the end to come. It's like we almost want to stop this suffering. And no matter where you stand on the theological debate, is that we have this sick thing inside of us that we want to see the end of the world. And people can argue with me, but folks, how many movies has Hollywood done? I mean, when I was, a practicing Christian, in which, that's one of the most mind-coitus religions out there. But here's the point. If you wanted to get a crowd in, if you had low attendance, and this is, they use psych games on their congregation all the time. They just don't recognize it. They don't call it that, but that's what it is. You bring in a special speaker or do a series on Revelation tied to the day's events and the headlines, you pack it out, baby, because everybody's all in for that. I don't know. And then here I sit. I produce videos by the research that I'm doing on this thing, that an industry that I've been involved with. I mean, people don't realize this, but my company, back in the 90s, we were pioneers in e-commerce. E-commerce didn't exist. We defined it. I still have in my files and my portfolio the e-commerce manifesto. Good friend Rod, who now lives in New Zealand with M2K Marketing. And we were at major events defining what e-commerce was. I can still remember Meg Whitman being there, Jeff Bezos. We were on panels and discussing, well, what would the future look like in this? And, so I have some foundation to make the videos that I have. I have experience in the fact that, I'm living that vision that we were in conferences, roundtable discussions in 1997 and 1998. We had no idea it was going to be like this. We set as a target basically trying to figure out how e-commerce could coexist with brick and mortar. And we're seeing the result of that. The inevitable outcome is brick and mortar is going away. I mean, I remember the prophets painting a picture of what that looked like. Back in 1998, we didn't know what that looked like. When I worked in developing the first hazmat to eliminate the blue canary syndrome for our first responders and law enforcement, and the monumental task it took to work with all these different agencies, all of them had different databases, and it was a Herculean task to do what we did, but we did it. And now today, I see this younger generation growing up. We had no idea. I sometimes question some of my colleagues that I worked with nearly 20 years ago. If we could see the damage that we've done today, would we have pursued it? I don't know. Anyway, well, so that's what gives me this. And this is why I am a strong voice and will continue to be. We need to wake up to what's happening to us. I don't know. I said last night on the radio show that I was interviewed with that I think we've passed the tipping point. I think we've crossed the precipice, and I don't think we can return. I don't. If an event like a Carrington effect happens to us, we'll see. My biggest concern is that when you have a psychological addiction that becomes physiological, and that's what's happening here. I'll be showing you these examples where you have the body is going into shock because the smartphone was taken away. You can say what you want, but it's not a rarity. It's actually becoming the norm. And this disturbs me that, as I see it, the merge, you guys should see this, the It's Unstoppable video is just really taking off. But if you read the merge and you understand what the selfish ledger is, I mean, folks, it's game over for us. And I applaud those people who are off. They say they don't have smartphones and they don't get on very often. But here's the problem. They've saturated the lower ionosphere with 5G. So it really doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter whether you have it or not. And if the telecoms and if DARPA, well, let me just say if DARPA already has this technology that I showed you. Now, a lot of you may not know who DARPA is. I mean, I'm not going to get into that. But the fact is that now that DARPA has it, it's now being implemented, no doubt, into the military industrial machine. This is frightening, folks. When the breakthrough was when and it shows you in the video, go to the website, where he actually is thinking, what time is it? The machine comes back and tells him. If you go back through my archives and look at this, I've been telling you in the Bloodline Invader series, this thing, I don't know if it came from something or whether we brought it in. Maybe it's a combination of both. I still contend that if Gordy Rose and his company, in which apparently no one has challenged him, so I have to believe in the validity of his statement. So I can't doubt the veracity of what he is saying. But if his D-Wave computers, and now they got the synthetic DNA, if they have actually gone into other dimensions and brought substance back into this dimension, I don't know what type of effect that would have. My mind says to me, well, it would obviously have an impact. Yeah, I don't know. All right. I hope it's been at least informative. One thing I want to do, give me just to end the show so that we can really see what's going on here. Give me a second here. Here we go. I hope this company is getting their funding. They need to get their funding because let me tell you, this company that started doing this is an entrepreneurial company. And bravo to the people who were aware enough and awake enough back in 2015 to say something isn't right. Now, I did a video on them, and you can see this in the Cosmic Wave Epoch video I did, that they actually put people on planes. They use balloons, and they have the meters. So we're seeing something now. Look at here. I think eventually they're going to get all 50 states, and I believe that they'll eventually have them worldwide if the airline industry doesn't stop them, because this isn't good for the airline industry. Look at here, folks. This is the one that I find most alarming in the higher latitudes that you go. You can see the doses, folks, are only, all of them are increasing. The graph is not showing a reversal. Granted, the data is just at 2015, but nevertheless, I haven't seen any competing data that would contradict their readings. And so as we wrap this thing up, it all ties in. Increased doses of cosmic radiation, impacting the hippocampus and the other part of the brains that we're now understanding that affect memory. And it's just not in one geographical area. We don't know what it is in the ground effects around other places of the world. We never thought about it. I mean, seriously. I tell you, Rex, we need to get your hats. I hope they're, how should we say, titanium lined? I don't know. But yeah, this is crazy. So, not making it up. I really not. Oh, and don't put these damn things next to your ear, folks. The amount of dosing that you're doing to yourself, it's a slow form of suicide. Suicide in the sense that we don't know. I just call me paranoid, but I heard that radiation isn't good for the human body. That's what I was told. And if you're putting up a device right next to your temporal area that you're just dosing yourself with, people say, well, the phone gets hot. Yeah, I bet it does. And listen, I was guilty of it. I remember maybe we should have had the days back where we just had the analog phones. My car phone back in the 80s, I had a Lincoln Continental that still had my Bell South mobile phone in there that was actually tied to a pager. Maybe we should go back to that. I don't know. Or maybe the brick phones. God knows how much radiation those things must have been pumping out. Folks, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you all for gracing me with your presence. It's an honor. I thank you all. It's enjoyable. And I think that if I can bring you joy, even when we're dealing with some of the bat crap subjects we have to deal with, just the way it is. But I think sticking together, we'll figure it out. Hey, if we never do, at least we're going to have fun getting there, or at least we thought we had fun. All right, folks, I'll see you probably Friday night. It may be just me. Who knows? But tomorrow night, I am over on the Artist First Network at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. Join me for the Steiger Perspective. Wayne, what do you think about the vortex in the Gulf of Aden? Sounds to me like the effect of a collapsing magnetosphere. Yes, and let's put Dr. Alber's theory to this as well. It could be one of two things: something outside terrestrial or something interterrestrial. I still contend that there is an inner Earth, that there is a race of beings there. I firmly believe that. People say, well, what do you believe about the flat Earth? I don't know. You know, to me, I see people getting wrapped around the axle and say, what does it matter? I mean, my question is, round, flat, square, cube, triangle, we're here. And, you know, we need to stop attacking each other and start sitting down, passing the pipe. No, I didn't say that. Yeah, I did. What about the tear in the magnetosphere? Listen, we have seen, let me tell you, the thing about the magnetopause, and I'll just say this, it generates all the time. And if there's aberrations in it, then obviously those influences are coming from either our star, other planets, something here. I contend something's been here all along. I just think we moved into a really bad neighborhood. Yeah. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Growing up, you know, there was just some parts of town you didn't go in. You know, if you went into that, you knew you were going to find trouble. I think our quadrant of space that we've moved into a neighborhood that, you know, it ain't safe to be out at night. So anyway, folks, all right. All my best to you all. And we'll see you again real soon. Be good to yourselves. You know, Jeff Doherty had one of his programs over there. Let me tell you, the best thing that you could do for yourself is to realize that you're never going to live up to another person's perception of you. Learn that you are who you are. You're not perfect. None of us are. But That's what makes us perfect, is our imperfectness, because it causes us to reach. It causes us to always try to achieve something better. And sometimes some people get slapped down pretty hard. I've been there. I've been homeless, folks. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just an optimist as an observer. I think we can figure a way out of this. Let's hope we can. All right, folks. Peace. We'll see y'all real soon. All right. Take care.